Welcome back, everyone. Today I'll be taking you through some of the money in my collection. All of this money laid out on the couch here is money from different countries. A lot of it is still in use today. If you ever do some traveling in the future, some of this might be money that you end up using yourself. We'll start us off with our own money. Here we've got the Australian dollar and cents. On the 5 cent we've got the echidna. On the 10 cent we have a lyrebird. For the 20 cents we've got a platypus there in the water. On the 50 cent we've got the Australian coat of arms, a kangaroo and an emu. Kangaroos on the $1 coin. And an Aboriginal elder on the $2 coin. Some of you might already know that back when the 50-cent coin was released, which was in the year 1966, they were actually round at first. It wasn't until 1969, 3 years later, that they were phased out and replaced by the 50-cent coin that we know all today. The shape of the current one, if you're wondering, is a dodecagon, which has 12 sides. Another interesting thing about the old 50 cents is that when they were round, they were actually 80% silver. And when silver prices went up, they realized that the silver inside the 50 cent was actually worth more than the coin was worth. So they started making them out of copper and nickel instead, which is what they're still made of today. Another interesting thing is that the dollar coins didn't actually come in until a bit later. The cent coins have been around since we started using the dollar, but the dollar coins and $2 coins, they didn't actually come in until a bit later, until the 1980s. For quite a long time, we actually also had 1 and 2 cent coins. On the 1 cent, we've got the feathertail glider, and on the 2 cent, we have a frill-necked lizard. Put a $1 coin next to them so you can have a bit of scale. And these were phased out back in 1992, but because so many were made, there's still quite a lot floating around today. You might be wondering why they would bother making a coin for such a small amount of money. And although it is a small amount of money today, because of how economics works, back when these coins were first released, you actually could buy some stuff with them. 1 and 2 cents back then went a lot further. You've probably all seen the special edition coins that they sometimes release. Here's a nice one from 2002 with a nice picture of Australia on it, and it says, Year of the Outback. The 50 cent especially has had quite a lot of different versions. Here's one from 2000 that was released to celebrate the new millennium. This one's from 1988, and it was done to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the arrival of the first British fleet to Australia, which some of you are probably aware is now quite a controversial section of history. This one is to commemorate the 12th Commonwealth Games, which were held in 1982 in Brisbane. And this one's for the 18th Commonwealth Games, which were held in 2006 in Melbourne. And this nice one with the windmill here is actually part of the same set as the $1 coin from before. It was also done for the Year of the Outback back in 2002. We also had very different banknotes back when the dollar was first introduced. The artwork was different, and they were actually made of paper instead of plastic. Here we've got the $2 note. And now I didn't have time to research who the people on the notes were, so I'm just going to guess. On one side we've got a guy who, as you can see from his face, is very serious about sheep. On the other side we've got what seems to be a picture of Sigmund Freud having a daydream about barley. And here we've got the $1 note. On one side we've got the Australian coat of arms and the Queen. And then on the other side of the $1 note, and I quite like this one, we've got some very nice Indigenous artwork. And this was done by an artist from the Northern Territory, David Malangi. And this artwork was actually originally used without his knowledge. It wasn't until about a year after these were first released that some people intervened to make sure that he got paid for the use of his work. And on the $50 note, we've got some guy that really likes bow ties. And on the other side, we've got some guy who is looking the wrong way for the photo. Here we've got the euro. And this is used by quite a few different countries. It was first released back in 1999, but for the first few years it was just as electric money. It wasn't until 2002 that they started actually releasing physical euro notes and coins. And today quite a few major European countries use the euro as their currency. Go through them. There's 1 and 2 euro cents, 5, and 10, 20, and 50 cents. And then we've got 1 and 2 euros. I'll give you all a closer look at the backs of the euro coins. Although all of this is the same currency, each country still does produce their own different version of the euro, just to give it a bit of character depending on what country it comes from. Firstly, we've got an Irish one here, and that's an Irish harp. This middle one here is Italian, and the place on the back of the coin is the Casa del Monte. And this third one here is the German euro 1 cent. And the picture on the back is an oak leaf. And this is actually carried over from the money that Germany had before the euro came along, which was the Deutschmark. And we'll be looking at that a bit later on. Next up, we've got the 2 euro cent coins. These two on the left here are French euro cents. And here we've got another Italian one. And the building on the back is the Mole Antonelliana. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Next up for the 5 cent coins, we've got 2 Dutch 5 cent coins. These are from the Netherlands. And the woman on the back there is Queen Beatrix, who was the Queen of the Netherlands at the time these coins were made. The writing on the back says Beatrix Koningin der Nederlanden, which means Beatrix, Queen of the Netherlands. Next up we've got the Euro 10 cent coins. This one here is the Spanish 10 cents. And this man is Miguel de Cervantes. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And he was a very famous Spanish author about 400 years ago. Here's the German one. We've got the Brandenburg Gate. And then at the bottom we've got the French 10 cent coin. And this is meant to be a woman planting seeds in a field with the sun coming up behind her. Next up we've got the Euro 20 cent coins. On the back of the Italian one here, we've got a very famous Italian sculpture. I'll show a picture of it for you. You might have noticed that all the Italian ones so far have the letters IR just there, and that means Repubblica Italiana, or Republic of Italy. You might also notice the letter R on the top right, and the letters MAC at the bottom. The MAC are the initials of the engraver who designed this coin. I wasn't able to find out what the R meant though, unfortunately. We've got a very nice one here. This is the Austrian 20 euro cent coin. And the building pictured on the back of this coin are the Belvedere Palaces, which is a famous location in Austria. Here we've got the 50 cent coins, and these are some more Irish and Dutch ones. And you might have noticed by now that, unlike some of the other countries that we've looked at, for the coins from these countries, the artwork on the backs of the coins is all the same. It doesn't change as the coin value increases, it stays the same on each one. Next up we've got the 1 euro coins. This is the French 1 euro coin, and it has a tree, and around the tree is a hexagon shape. And the reason there's a hexagon is because the country of France itself is vaguely hexagon shaped. Around the inside of the silver bit it says Liberty, Equality, Fraternity, which is the motto of France, and in the middle it says RF, which means Republic of France. And then finally we've got the only 2 euro coin in my collection, and this one is an Irish 2 euro. And if you've been paying attention, you should know by now what's going to be on the back of it. There you go. Next up we've got the Deutschmark, and this is what Germany used to use before the euro came in. For the Deutschmark, you had 100 Pfennigs to 1 Deutschmark. There's 2 and 5 Pfennigs. And 10 and 50. With these ones, the backs of every coin is an oak sprig, except for the 50, where instead it's a woman planting one. And then here you've got 1, 2, and 5 Deutschmarks. On the back it says Republik Deutschland, and Deutschland is basically the German word for Germany, so it means Republic of Germany. Next up we've got the Austrian shilling, and this is what Austria used before the euro came in. For the shilling you had 100 groschen to a shilling, so for example 10 of these or 2 of these would make up one of these. You've got 10 groschen, and then 50 groschen, can see it says here, Republik Österreich, Republic of Austria, and then 1 full shilling. Next up, we've got some money from Greece for you. This is the Greek drachma. This is also no longer used. It's been replaced by the euro. And with the drachma, you would have 100 lepton for 1 drachma. I don't actually have any lepton coins for you right now, but I'll try and find some photos. You've got 1 drachma. There's 2. We've got 5 drachma. Here are a few different versions of the 10 drachma coin. And here's 20 drachma. On the opposite side of the 20 drachma coin, we've got a man with a very interesting hat. Next up, we've got some money from Cyprus, and this is the Cypriot pound. And an interesting thing I found out while researching this currency is that there are no pound coins for this currency. There are no 1 or 2 pound coins for the Cypriot pound. They only had cent coins. Complete pounds only existed in note form. Here you've got 1 and 2 cents. You add 100 cents to 1 pound. Here you've got 20 and 50 cents. Some very nice artwork on these ones. And they all have the same back.